Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad-gita, text 16 to text 26, I believe. Natsyaasnastu yogashti na chayantikam anashtutaha na chatisvam pashlilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. It's 309 in the temple room, by the way. Translation: There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much, or does not sleep enough. Text 17. Yuktahara viharyasya yuktachechasya karmashu yuktasvapnavabodasya yoga bhavati dukkha. He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Yada vinyayatam chittam atmani eva vatishtate nipjara sarvakam vibhyo yukta iti uchetada. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to have attained yoga. Yata dipa nivatashto negate sopamashmita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamadmanaha. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Yacho paramate chittam nirudam yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyam atmani tushyati sukham atmam digyam yat tad buddhi gaham atvindayam veti yatra nacha vayam stitas kalati tattataha yam ladba chaparam ladam manyate nadikam tataha yasmin shto nadukena guru napi vichalayate tambidaya dukkha samyoga yogayam yoga samjitanam. The state of perfection is called trance or samadhi when one's mind is completely restrained mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Shanishchayena yoktavo yoga nirvinichetashaha sankalpa pravanam kammas tavaka sarvan ishataha Manasaivendriya gamam vinyama samatantaha. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with undeviating determination and faith. One should abandon, without expectation, all material desires born of false ego, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Sanai sanir upramed buddhya driti gritaya atma samstamanaha kritvana kinchid apichanyat. Gradually, step by step, with full conviction, And one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone, and should think of nothing else. Yato yato nischanti manaschanchalam ashritam tatos tato nimyatad atmani eva vasham nayet. From whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Back to text 16. Translation. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleep too much or does not sleep enough. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple foodstuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness according to the Bhagavad-gita. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Pujate te tvav angam papa ye pachanti atmana karanat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats in sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. Nor one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must continuously sleep more than is required. He must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of the 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Srinivadi Pashtakare Satsakane. So Srila Prabhupada is saying in this purport here that we have to become perfectly balanced in order to perfectly practice yoga. So he's saying a lot here that we have to mainly, I guess this verse in particular also is saying that we need to regulate our eating. And if we can do that, automatically everything else can become regulated as well. Just like there's a line, like first the tongue, then the belly, then the genitals. So if we can control the tongue simply by chanting Hare Krishna and eating prasadam, Krishna prasadam, of course, then we can begin to become more balanced. And we shouldn't, eat ourselves sick often, although in the beginning, what can we do? But we should try to endeavor to become more conscious and not overeat so that we're able to nicely perform devotional service. And by doing so, naturally the belly will become controlled because we're controlling it by controlling the tongue. They're linked together. And along with that too, the genitals will also become controlled, and we won't have so many lusty desires polluting us all the time, which is the biggest trap for all of us here in this fallen age of Kali Yuga. So this verse is very much helping us realize the standard that actually sleeping more than 6 hours means that we're in the mode of ignorance. Although Prabhupada did tell us we could sleep 7 hours, but right here he's telling us 6 is, if any more than 6, we're influenced by the mode of ignorance. So we should look at ourselves and we should see, am I being influenced by the lower modes? Is this holding me back? Because if it is, if we're thinking about, I just got to fill my gut like 120%, and I'm just going to think about sex all day, then we're actually cheating ourselves. And we shouldn't cheat ourselves, because there's like a perfect example. Gaura-Nitai's giving us their mercy, Prabhupada's giving us their mercy. They're allowing us to actually attain the highest level of peace, the highest level of ecstasy of pleasure. Shri Shri Gaura-Nitai ki jai. So if we're not tuning into this higher frequencies, we're simply cheating ourselves. And we'll spend God knows how long, many more lifetimes in the cycle of birth and death. So don't cheat ourselves. We shouldn't cheat ourselves. We should become pure devotees right now at this exact moment. Why not? What's holding us back? Why shouldn't we strive for that at least? For becoming, okay, what can I do right here, right now to become a pure devotee at this moment? Just beg for the mercy. Just keep begging and begging and begging and begging. Please, I'm so fallen. I'm just thinking about women. I'm just thinking about food. I'm just thinking about sleep, how tired I am. But just beg the Lord, beg all the Sampradaya. There's Haridas Thakur, of course, Lord Chaitanya, Rupa Goswami, all the great sages in our disciplic succession. We should beg for their mercy to help us become self-realized and become free from these entanglement, this bondage that's holding us back. Because these bodies, we try to satisfy them, but there's no way to do that. It's just like an itch that we scratch and we scratch and we scratch, but I just can't get no satisfaction. There's a huge mega hit song back in the 60s from the Rolling Stones. I'm sure some of us here have heard of it. When it would come on the radio, or not even the radio, but like on my song, or on my playlist, I just go nuts. It's like bum bum da, 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 and I just like lose it. I can't get no satisfaction. I try and I try and I try, but I cannot get any satisfaction. Going here, going there, smoking this, drinking that, having sex with this, trying to enjoy that. But I just can't get no satisfaction. So that song really hit a nail on the head. And somehow or other, I think it helped me realize. So not that it's the most Krishna conscious thing, but we can use these past things to help us realize that. So let's not cheat ourselves. Let's become pure devotees. And let's deliver the world. That's what we're meant to do. Anything else? Just wasting our time. I can read the next text. He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Purport. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna has offered, according to the Bhagavad-gita, Bhagavad-gita 9:26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food meant for human... In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption, or which is not in the categories of goodness. So Prabhupada's here saying that we should only strive for foods in the mode of goodness. That's why we don't even think about consuming meat, fish, eggs, onions, these things, because they're completely in the mode of ignorance and it'll drag us down. And we will not be able to attain spiritual consciousness if we eat these things. I mean, you're just like literally drinking blood when you're eating meat. And if you're eating eggs, you're literally eating the menstrual cycle of a chicken. So think about that for a little bit. If you ever, think about a nice cheesy omelet or something. Like this is a chicken's menstrual cycle. Anyway, as far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, at unnecessary time, Any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. A Krishna-conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Wow. So if we, can't bear a moment where I don't have service, then we're not actually Krishna-conscious. We're just bodily conscious. Sometimes this, sometimes that. Let me get a little bit of sense gratification, and I'll go serve Krishna. But, there's this desire, so I'm going to go fulfill that. But Krishna, I'll be back. Don't worry. But no, we'll just completely fall. We give a little wedge. If there's like a crack in the wall, I stick something in it, the crack's going to get bigger. If I jam it in further, it's going to just widen up, and then the whole wall is just going to be, there's no wall anymore. So when we do that with Maya, it's the same thing. Krishna consciousness just flutters out of our mind, and we are not spiritual anymore. We're fully in material consciousness. So we have to watch this. We can't even give a single fraction of a second for Maya. We should be fully engaged in service of the Lord 24/7. And if we are, then we'll be this. A Krishna-conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. We can attain that by simply engaging in the Lord's service 24/7. And in that way, we'll have a taste for that. We won't want anything else. The thought of whatever it may be may come into our mind, and we'll just no, it's just like stool. I'll just spit on it. Get it out of here. I don't want that. It's disgusting. I want Krishna. I want to serve the Vaishnavas. I want to serve the Parampara. I don't want anything else. Unmotivated, uninterrupted. That's pure devotional service. I don't have any motive behind my moods for serving. And it's uninterrupted, like Prabhupada's saying here. A single minute isn't even passed by. So, chant Hare Krishna 24/7 by thinking oneself humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree, and we can actually attain this level of bliss and ecstasy. We'll be growing an ecstasy garden. I heard that the other day. I found it was pretty funny. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal is, in this respect, of Srila Rupa Goswami. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna, and who could not, not that he didn't, he could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Wow. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prashadam, nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting on his bead 300,000 names. Wow. Everybody's probably seen me in the temple room during japa, so I know I'm not here. But this is a symptom we can get if we just simply beg. Like if we listen to all of Haridas Thakur's bhajans, all his songs, they're so filled with nectar. He's just begging for the Lord's mercy. He's begging for it so much. Like there's this one, I don't have it memorized, so please forgive me, but it's Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Kodo Doya Mode, where he's begging Lord Chaitanya. He's saying, Lord Chaitanya, you've only appeared, your avatar is only to save the fallen souls. That's the only reason why you came here. That's why you came here. It's Kali Yuga. You're here to bless us. You're here to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. And then he boldly prays that there's not a single fallen soul, a soul out there more fallen than me. He doesn't ask. He says, he demands. Therefore, you must consider my request first. He's boldly saying that to Lord Chaitanya. So if we can actually memorize this, unlike me, if you all can memorize this, we can actually be in that mood, even if we're not in that mood. When we're singing that song, when we're chanting that mantra, then we're actually those words are coming out of our mouths. So we are actually in that way begging the Lord to just, I'm in the front of the line. I'm right here. I'm the most fallen. You got to look at me first. I'm not leaving. I'm right here in the front of this line, and I need the mercy more than anybody else. So please, not even please, you have to consider me first. And then he goes on to talk to or pray to Lord Nityananda that Nityananda, You are so full of spiritual happiness, spiritual bliss, and I am so depressed. So please just kindly just glance upon me. That way I may also have some happiness. And then he goes on to pray to Sri Advaita Prabhu. He prays to him. I can't remember exactly what he says, but he basically says, like, put in a good word for me to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, because if you put in a good word for me, naturally that they will also be kind and merciful to me. Oh yeah, that's what it is. He says, Lord Sri Advaita Prabhu, please just be kind to me, because if you're kind to me, naturally Lord Nityananda and Lord Gauranga will automatically be kind to me too. And that's what I need. I need their mercy. I need them to be kind with me. I don't want them to just not be kind to me. Obviously it's God, and God is kind to everybody, but if we can get the special benedictions, then we can go very far. And if we learn to pray like these great saints, Haridas Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then we can actually attain a fraction, a drop of the level of ecstasy that they have. Which the far out thing too is they actually don't think they have it. Like for instance, I've heard people say that they're making these prayers for us so we can understand, how to act, and that's true. But they also actually think that about themselves. Like Haridas Thakur Narottam Das Thakur. Actually, I got that wrong the whole time. I think it's a Narottam Das Thakur version. Anyway, please forgive me. But he's actually thinking himself this fallen. He's teaching us, but he's also thinking himself that way. So we actually have to think that selves that way. We have to realize that I am nothing. I am, sometimes people say like, oh, I am the most fallen. But actually, Prabhupada once chastised somebody. He said, you're the most, I don't remember exactly, but like, you're the most nothing. Like, you're not the most anything, right? So, we actually have to realize that I'm lower than the worm in the stool. I'm like the worm's stool in the stool. If we have that state of mind, we can begin to attain, Krishna consciousness. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. Wow. That's pretty crazy. Can somebody remind me who it was with who got beaten and whipped in the 22 Haridas Thakur? So yeah, he was being whipped and beaten in 22 different marketplaces. And he had no material misery. So that's the level that, these Nitya Siddhas are, that's the standard that they're setting, right? And I think that I'm great because, I distributed 2 Saptarishi sets today, so like, what the heck, what the hell is wrong with me? I'm just a damn rascal if I think that way. Like if somebody comes and just like, gives me a weird look, or they're just like, if I am being rude to somebody and they're rude back to me, I'm totally disturbed. Who are you? I'm just like totally bewildered. So I really need to, wake up and realize that I'm nothing, and that there's this standard of pure devotional service. I am nowhere, absolutely nowhere near it.
Hare Krishna, thank you for that point, Prabhu. On that point, so what is like the best way to live up to the standard? Because it's a materially and spiritually speaking, it's pretty high. So I was just wondering, like, what should we do? Because we know we're all fallen, but what is the best way to go about being less fallen? Thank you.
You're asking how to become less fallen and become somewhat like these devotees?
Yeah, just to live up to the standard.
Well, we have to know what the standard is, and we have to know that it's possible for us to get there. So we shouldn't just like forget about it and be like, oh, I mean, I'm so fallen, so I don't have to do anything, you know, like I can think about sex, or I can do all this nonsense stuff. No, we actually have to know that the standard where it is. We also have to know where we are. So we got to take, it's baby steps. I mean, it's written all over Prabhupada's books that it's a gradual process. So we have to understand that, and we can't become totally distraught if we're not there yet. I mean, come on, like, look at where we were before this, right? These people were coming straight from Goloka, born into like really advanced families, so they've been trained this their whole life. So, you know, we also have to accept that I might never attain that platform. I might never attain being able to be whipped in 22 marketplaces and still be in complete spiritual ecstasy. You know, I might not be able to renounce a mango because I tasted it when it wasn't Krishna Prasadam. You know, like, no, I wanted that mango, so I'm going to have another one. I'll make sure it's Prasadam next time. You know, so we have to like think like that. Like the standard is there, and these great liberated souls are setting it, but that doesn't mean that we can get there, and we also have to humbly accept that. But we should definitely strive to. It doesn't mean we shouldn't strive to. So it's a gradual process. Just focus on chanting 16 rounds with attention, following the regulated principles, and becoming a humble servant to all the Vaishnavas, trying not to make offenses. These things, the basic stuff. So we don't have to worry too much, but we use them as an example that it's possible to get there, and that we should just try to be humble like them. Does that answer any questions? Try.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thanks for a nice class, Prabhu. Also, just to one thing to add to what you just said, here at Rupanuga Vedic College, when we do the Bhakta program, we're essentially following everything perfectly. And when we have a good Bhakta leader, and we do have some great ones here, then they can show us exactly how everything's supposed to be done. And a lot of times we graduate from the Bhakta program, and then we think that, oh, maybe like, you know, now I can do things on my own. You know, I don't have to have someone over me. But it's a better idea to think that, well, now I have to like strengthen myself a little bit, actually, because I'm going to have to do this without somebody kind of pushing me forward. And so it's really important when we make, well, first of all, like you said, to know what is right and what is wrong. And we're very fortunate we have this Bhakta program. But then once we're done with it, that we situate ourselves in such a way that we basically continue to follow that. And we do it on our own because we have developed some kind of an affinity for it. And so it's really important when we're making that transition to get extra humble and think that this is going to be a big challenge for me. Now I'm out on my own, kind of like getting pushed out of the nest. And to like redouble our efforts or recommit ourselves to our vows that we're going to do these same things on our own now. And then as we advance, the ideal is that we move forward, that we don't slip backwards in our regulations. So ideally, we would maintain everything that we learned in the Bhakta program and begin to gradually add more, like maybe waking up 30 minutes earlier or taking on other services that we might have thought were difficult before, like book distribution. So just some thoughts, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jai, thank you. That's very practical and easy.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, going back, I just have a quick comment on the last verse we did, text 16. a lot of times, especially in the early stages, people may get really, really caught up or obsessed with some of these points, you know? And I just thought I'd like to make the point that there's so many exceptions, and this is, just setting some like numerical standard on, what is too much and too little is not what Prabhupada is getting at here. It's to put devotional service first and everything, and that's, what Shastra is pointing at from every angle, So like, for instance, like a driver, Maharaj recommends a driver gets at least 8 hours of sleep. Prabhupada said if you need to be a taxi driver and get 10 hours a night, that's your service, do that. That's one like very practical example. So it's not that we should just put a number on our life and think like, oh, this is what I need to do all the time. In 5 years, I'm going to be doing this much. 10 years, I'm going to be doing this much. This is not, of course, it's good. It's nice to have goals, but it's like, the goal is to increase your service aspect and be able to adjust accordingly, in these things. So eating too much and too little, the main thing is, okay, how much, what am I looking at today? What is my service on a daily basis? What do I need to execute that to the topmost of my capacity? Like Parameshwar Prabhu, he came, he gave a nice class. He was saying, I get 7.5 or 8 hours every single night to do my service properly. I know that's how my mind works best, and able to, preach, carry out this Krishna consciousness movement. So this is the summum bonum of this verse. It's not just like, oh, Prabhupada says we need 6 hours. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you for the practical point. It's definitely not something we need to be fanatical over. That, it's you hit the nail on the head there. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thanks for the wonderful class. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Please accept mine.
You felt like a lion there, just so you know, and I'd like to continue on the point that Mathuranath Das Prabhu said. How do we, or to be honest, I'm kind of asking for myself, how does this individual learn how to be dynamic in his in my daily activities so that I can essentially be situated in what you're saying, so I don't become fanatical? Because I liked what Prabhu said too, and I liked what you said, and they both make sense. But I'm wondering, how do I not overextend myself too early so I'm not a shooting star, and so that I can be situated in Krishna consciousness eternally, or as long as, just eternally, sometimes I don't know how to, if I have a schedule and then there's a change that happens out of nowhere, I will just say yes because I think I'm supposed to. And how do I know how to when it's okay to be like, Prabhu, I'm weak? Because if I am doing so much all day, and say I'm doing all 9 things, chanting, dancing, listening, reading, going on book distribution, going on Harinam, doing all these things, how do I get to a point where you can be further ahead in the future? Because there are so many things we could do in this Krishna conscious movement, but I guess I'm asking, do I have to be doing everything every day, or am I just doing just what specifically the authority ahead of me is asking me? Sorry for the long-winded question, but this will actually help me if I know the answer to this. Hare Krishna.
Please forgive me. I struggle with concentrating. Maybe you could summarize in a sentence or two.
How can I be more practical in my day-to-day service, and how do I become more dynamic? because this Krishna consciousness movement is dynamic. It's not stale and it's ever fresh.
I heard from one devotee that I don't know exactly how to put this into practice, but I heard philosophically that we should do 2 hours of service we really enjoy, 2 hours of service that's like somewhere in the middle, and 2 hours of service we really don't like to do. And that way we can become somewhat dynamic and realize that all service is on the transcendental platform. But we also need to be like Maternoth was bringing up the point that not fanatical, we should be practical with where we're at, understand what we need for us to perform what's being asked of us. And if we are being asked to do something from an authority, we are in a way actually being empowered by them to do that service. So, if we actually know I can't do it, then, we should think that. But why not at least try? Why not at least try to do that service? And then I know I can't do it. If I couldn't do it, if I honestly 100% put 100% effort into what I was being asked to do and being empowered to do, then I can know if I can or I can't do it. And if it was very difficult, then we can also bring that up. But difficulty can be good for us to put ourselves in a struggling situation. Not that we should endeavor for struggle, like it kind of ties into what Maternoth is saying also. I shouldn't, Prabhupada said here right now I need 6 hours of sleep or I'm in ignorance. No, if I need 7, I need 8, I need to eat a whole bunch so I'm not on the bodily platform, so I can actually perform my service without thinking I'm tired, I'm hungry, then that's okay too. But we should know, a standard is there, and if it's practical for me to attain it, then that's great. If not, then let me just perform to the best of my ability. Is that okay?
Yes.
Jai.
Also, in the purport, we heard about how Rupa Goswami only ate 2 hours a day. And I remember the first time I heard that, I got all inspired and started thinking that I was going to eat or I'm sorry, was it sleep? Excuse me, sleep. I said the wrong word. I remember I got all, thinking that I was going to do something like that. And then I started eating like just yogurt and with some raisins for breakfast, and that's all I would eat for breakfast, And then you realize very quickly that these things are all artificial. And the more important thing is to simply follow under the guidance of a spiritual master. And so we're very fortunate. We have Prabhupada guiding the entire movement, but even more importantly, we have Dhanavir Goswami here to really keep us guarded. And so that's, again, I have to emphasize how important the Bhakta program is for all souls. Because having personally experienced not having it and then having it, it's like night and day in your existence. So anybody who might be listening online, it's really important to get trained up in Krishna consciousness.
Do the Bhakta program. But yeah, the reason these souls are able to do that is because they are actually insanely, incredibly advanced in Krishna consciousness. I can't do that because I think I'm my body. I haven't understand the first teaching of this book here. And I'm being asked to speak on it. I don't even know anything because I'm still thinking I'm my body. So I shouldn't try to think that by not eating, I'll begin to not think on my body. These souls are doing it because they know they're not their body. They know what their sarup is, and they're like engaging in pure devotional service. Haribo. So let's strive to get there, but that doesn't mean that it's spiritual, right? We're in a spiritual movement, not a material movement. In the first verse, Prabhupada was going and describing that one shouldn't fast artificially. So I think somewhere in the Bhagavad-gita it also says that's mode of ignorance, like Krishna says. So yeah, we shouldn't do that either. You want to know something else? Okay.
Rupa Goswami was naturally attracted to Krishna. It wasn't like he had to say, well, I'm just going to sleep 2 hours tonight. He didn't set a time for himself. He was so enthralled by the service that he was doing that the thought of sleep just didn't really occur as much.
Right. Jai. Magadari Prabhu.
So I have a question. Usually in devotional service, we're taught to practice. And when we practice devotional service to Krishna, even if we have no taste, the fact that we give ourselves regulation in spite of our not having taste is a big, that's the process to actually rise up, as we saw in the science of Shraddha to Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, like that, and Artanavritti. So what I'm wondering is, if we are regulated in our sadhana, okay, I should chant this many rounds every day, then is it unreasonable to also give ourselves some bounds on the practical service we perform by maintaining this body? Like Rupa Goswami, for example, says one should brush their teeth. Like that's part of our training, you know. So, you know, where is, I had a question whether, how much does renunciation lead to devotion? We hear from like we were just been discussing, that devotion automatically leads to renunciation. But for us who have no devotion, how much does renunciation lead us to that goal?
It's just simply, to my low, my limited understanding, is that our renunciation is just. What says a comment? Try. Thank you so much. Don't have to answer that one.
Sorry, we're not ready yet.
Oh. I guess we'll wait. If that's okay. Okay, Rishi's saying maybe I should try. My understanding is that our renunciation is just following the 4 regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds, and therefore we'll, the other subtle things that because renunciation will help our devotional service, but those things will happen automatically just by performing this renunciation of chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulative principles, serving the devotees, having a guru, being humbly serving the guru. These things that's in a form of renunciation. I mean, like me before, I had all these things. I had a pretty decent life, and I'm like, in quotes, giving it up to do what I'm doing now. So that's I think what I would say. I know I'm not supposed to say I think, but I think that's what I would say is good for us now. And slowly we'll get the higher taste, and automatically these other things we will renounce.
This example of like brushing the teeth is a nice, it's not that we stop brushing our teeth once we have Krishna consciousness. It's we continue to brush our teeth, but it's for Krishna. We maintain our body for Krishna so we can do all the other services we're doing for Krishna too. And it seems to me what I've read is that each individual is going to have their own way of maintaining their body, because they're an individual body. Not everyone has the same body. We're not equal in that way. Our souls are equal, but our endeavor is unequal. Some devotee has a mind to do so many austerities, like Haridas Thakur, and another devotee has, they can learn Shastra very well and give nice classes. Not everybody in the movement is like His Holiness Dhanavir Goswami and can do what he's done in his life. We can use them as inspiration. So it seems to me what I've heard from many devotees is that you have to find your own way, essentially. Of course, you can always ask for advice, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. But if, like, you need to sleep, 8 hours, you can't renounce that. You use it for Krishna, always for Krishna.
Jai.
It's our goal.
Right. I'll try to say a few words, and Bhakta Damodar is here to translate what I'm trying to say. When we perform austerities in the line of devotional service, sadhana bhakti, it's not only austerities, it's service, or it's a beginning attempt to serve. And by that service, Krishna is pleased. Spiritual master is pleased. And when the spiritual master is pleased, then Krishna is pleased. And by that pleasing them, and they help us, they give their shower of blessing. So, even though our so-called austerities may be artificial to some extent, still Krishna appreciates. Just like, for example, when a little child tries to walk, his first attempts always fail. He always falls down. But the parents, they praise him. They clap and they say, very good. They help him get up again. Tries again because he knows inherently that he can walk. Similarly, we are meant to serve Krishna. So even though it's foreign for us right now, make some attempt gradually get a taste for it. Because it's not only just our doing it, it's how we are invoking pleasure, spiritual master and Krishna. And they give their blessings. And we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai. His Holiness Dhanavir Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki. Rupanuga Vedic College Dham ki jai.